I have a story for you. So right when I was kind of trying to find an apprenticeship, I think it was probably like 2012. I was living in Boulder. I went to Claw and Talon, and that was like, googling shit. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, these guys do like really rad traditional tattoos. I think it was like Miss Becky was her name. I don't know if she works there anymore, but I was seeking her out. So I walked into this shop. I think I had one tattoo. It was this one, but
Mm-hmm.
without the internal stuff. It was just
It was just the
black.
black, yeah.
And no, I had two tattoos. I had this one too. And I get in there just so naive of tattooing,
Mm-hmm.
like what a real tattoo shop is like. Because before that, it was in Rival, in, a shop that was the blind leading the blind. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
doing real tattoo shit. They weren't a part of the tattoo community. So for the first time ever, I'm walking into a shop that feels like a real tattoo shop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that moment like changed everything for me, because it made me realize like what I had to do in order to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So like I go in, I was met by Adam Safari. I didn't know who he was or anything. And he was like, what's up? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I want to become a tattoo artist. Here's my portfolio. And he's like, no, 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 no. He's like, sit the fuck down. Sit down. And he gave me I think it was the Bushido, Japanese traditional book. It was like
Mm-hmm.
the art of the Bushido or whatever. I know it said Bushido on it. And he's like, sit down and read this. So I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. So I'm like sitting down. There's like a guy about to get tattooed right next to me. This guy goes, are you a tattoo artist? And I was like, oh, no, no, no. And Adam's probably like, fuck no. Fuck no, he's not a fucking tattoo artist. No way. So I can't remember what happened, but like Adam's like, so why don't you have any tattoos? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh shit, I don't fucking know. Cause I want to get really good tattoos. And he was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. He's like, who in here only has good tattoos? The whole shop fucking silent. Who
Mm-hmm.
in here has fucking bad tattoos? Everyone's like, fuck yeah, bad tattoos. And I think he was trying to make a point though,
Yeah.
which was, I don't have any tattoos. How am I supposed to even know if I like
Mm-hmm.
it? Man, I got lucky that I ended up liking it. I hated it at first,
Yeah.
and then I ended up really liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my story is so like backwards from like a lot of really fucking good traditional
Mm-hmm.
tattooers. A lot of them say, "Oh, I was like brought into it. I fell right into it. I wasn't seeking it out."
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was seeking it out. I wanted to be a
Mm-hmm.
tattooer. And so like getting embarrassed in front of that whole shop where they're like, look at this guy, he's got no fucking tattoos and he wants to be a tattooer. How do you expect to do that? And he gave me a card at the end though, which was funny. Like he was all tough guy, and
Mm-hmm.
then he was nice at the end, and
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, tell you what, man, he's like, you come by my shop, and he's like, well, we can talk or whatever. He
Mm-hmm.
gave me his card, and I kept that card, and I was, as you would imagine, absolutely terrified. I wasn't gonna go
Yeah.
in there. I was gonna fucking
Yeah.
get annihilated by these dudes. But in the end, though, that gave me this like thought, like, oh shit, like I'm kind of like a fucking poser trying to get into this shit. I need to get more tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
and
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Consciousness. This is episode 5, and I am so excited to share this episode with you guys. This was a very special episode because not only was it filmed in my hometown of Evergreen, but I got to interview the amazing Matt Renner, and we got to talk about his apprenticeship, his art, and everything that makes him him. So if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with other people. Thanks. Hey everybody, this is Tattoo Consciousness. This is season 2, and this is episode 5, I believe. And I'm
yes,
here with Matt Renner. I'm very excited for this one. I love your work. I'm
thank
like
you,
so hyped on this. When we were
thank you.
driving here, I was like,
I
"Woo!"
appreciate that.
Would
Thank
you
you.
introduce yourself? Kind of what your style is, where you work?
Yeah, so Matt Renner, obviously. I've been tattooing for about 10 years now professionally. Add on the apprenticeship, it's been 12 years since I've been in it. My style is kind of like, it's more like an illustrative traditional, I
Mm-hmm.
would say. A lot of people call it neo traditional.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know if I would say
surprisingly.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, when I think neo, I think like Milo Alfring, or Melissa, the owner here. And I would say my work is more like rooted in like like old school traditional,
Mhm.
but with like more of a new feel to it, and just
Yeah.
like highly contrasting. I try to use like nuts colors, like just
Dude, it's
go all
bold and
over the place.
bright.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when you post stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn.
yeah,
I actually, of course, I lingered on your profile before
yeah, yeah.
this interview, and I saw you used to do some black and gray stuff, some
Oh yeah.
kind of
Yep.
realism shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why did you get out of that? Do you still do that sometimes?
So that's kind of like where my whole like artistic journey started, really, was as a kid I started drawing like photorealistically
Really?
with pencil. Yeah. So by the time I was like 10 and a half, I was doing portraits of like Native Americans
Mm-hmm.
and just practicing this black and gray realism with only pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that has been constant through my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So once I started learning how to tattoo, obviously, like when you first start, you can't just jump straight into like
Yeah.
realism. Even if you're great at it on paper, it's there's so much technicality to learn first.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a few years to get into it, but once I did and I tried it for the first time, I was like, oh, this is great. I can
Yeah.
do realism too. So I just do it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. It takes a lot of time. The
Mm-hmm.
dudes that do realism are nuts because they spend all day on a
Mm-hmm.
tattoo, that's like this big, and
Yeah.
they got the patience that I don't have. But I'll do it every once in a while. I'll do like portraits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I still try to maintain at least like, a couple every few months.
How did that shift happen from like they're just completely different
Yeah,
styles,
they are.
honestly.
I mean, it was natural. It just felt natural. And like also because I only did black and gray, like
Mm-hmm.
pencil work in the beginning, when I started tattooing, that was like my first introduction to color.
Yeah.
Like I painted a little bit in college, a little bit in high school, but I was never great at it. It was always like pencil. So as soon
Mm-hmm.
as I got into tattooing, the color just stood out to me. And I really wanted to learn how to make bright colors and all of the contrasting colors and color harmony and all of that
Mm-hmm.
came over time, and learning how to make it look better instead of just choosing horrible, horrible colors just
Yeah.
because they're bright. I still do that a little bit sometimes, but yeah, I feel like I meld both of them pretty
Mm-hmm.
well, and I still haven't done like a portrait with like traditional flowers or something
Mm-hmm.
underneath it, but I feel like
Like a
that'd be pretty
mashup.
cool. Yeah, like a
Yeah, yeah,
mashup.
that'd be
Yeah,
super sick.
that'd be sick.
Does it ever? That's how. Whenever I was like wanting to get into tattooing, that's all I did was pencil portraits as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
I did it for like 4 years, and then when I got my apprenticeship, I apprenticed under somebody who just did American traditional, so
Right.
he did not know how to teach me that,
Yeah.
and it was honestly really hard. We butted heads a lot because it
Mm-hmm.
was like he honestly thought I could not draw because it was so hard for me to like. I was so detail orientated to
Yeah.
go to American traditional, and I
Yep.
know a lot of people like shit on American traditional, but
Yep.
it's hard. Did
It
you
is.
have that similar issue where it was like hard for you to learn something new because you've been doing something so realistic and detail orientated?
Yes. I mean, I tell this to everyone, like tattooing was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's harder than any of the academics that I pursued before choosing tattooing as my career. And I mean, it's so there's so much to it. So yeah, it was hard going from, confidence on paper with realism and all that, and then going to a tattoo machine and each one of your lines that you pull has to be perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and each subsequent line the whole way, there's no mistakes, you
Yeah.
can't erase it. That was crazy. That was
Mm-hmm.
really hard. Yeah.
What's been your like biggest technical hurdle with tattooing? Because like I've been tattooing for 2 years, but I feel like a fucking baby still, and I still have like I mean, there's just so many aspects of it. Everybody's skin is
hmm
different. Even if you tattoo the same person in a different
hmm
spot, it's like what the fuck, you know?
I mean, geez, there's so many things that have been difficult. I think for me, I've always been pretty good at line work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always kind of had a good feel for it and kept my hand steady and everything. Color packing and just getting your colors straight up to the edge of every line and making sure that you don't like overwork it. That was probably the most difficult thing to learn over all these years. And I mean, still to this day, and I know, every tattooer will say this, like, it'll still throw you for a loop
Yeah.
sometimes. You'll do something and you'll be like, well, why didn't that work? Like, it worked a million times before and now it
Mm-hmm.
didn't.
What's
Just
your
depends on the
strategy
skin.
to like problem solve in the moment? Because sometimes I feel like still being newer, I
Yeah.
like will have freakouts where I'm like, what the fuck do I do?
Oh, man.
Do you still have that?
Yeah, I check. I check my rubber band tension. I check my needle. I check my
Mhm.
tube. If I'm still getting the same result, after adjusting my rubber band, I'll throw on a new needle.
Mhm.
And if that solves it, great. If it doesn't, then there's something else going on.
Mhm.
Um, Especially with Dan Cuban machines.
That's what you're using. You're using
Yeah,
coils.
they spit. Well, they used to spit so much.
Mhm.
Nowadays they don't spit quite as much, but um, that's like my first thing. When my machine's spitting like hell, I adjust the tension of the rubber
Mhm.
band, pull it up a little bit or pull it down, and then if it's still doing crap, I'll just reset up.
Yeah.
I don't even waste any time with trying to like
Mhm.
troubleshoot every little thing. I just reset up. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's an easy way to just get
Mhm.
straight to it.
Do you ever use the what they call them, the dildo machines?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to get used to it.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't hit quite as hard.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. It does hit hard. It just hits differently.
Mhm.
And I prefer a machine that's just straight from, the A bar, the cam or whatever,
Mhm.
straight to the needle versus,
Mhm.
the wireless, pen machines. You're losing power, I feel like,
Yeah.
in that transfer of energy from the little pin that comes down, hits your cartridge, and
Mhm.
then your cartridge could break.
Yeah.
It's funny, I actually break cartridges every time I
You
tattoo.
break cartridges? I don't think I
Every single
broke a
time.
single cartridge,
Hmm.
but I get fucking lemons. So I always
Yep.
have to look at them because they'll
Yep.
be like a little wonky or
Oh yeah.
something's just, or they're like not soldered properly. So they'll be like
Yeah.
a little thicker than
Yeah.
the others.
I don't know what it is. It could be my pen. I use the Cheyenne Soul Nova 5 stroke.
Mhm.
And like with the Cheyenne cartridges, I've never had a break.
Mhm.
But with Black Claw cartridges, I've had them like kind of break halfway to where the plunger doesn't go all the way down
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
It goes about halfway. And I swear to God, I do that every single time I tattoo. So
Mhm.
I have to like set out a bunch of shader,
Mhm.
cartridges when I'm doing like a bigger piece because I just want to have a fresh one.
Yeah.
But I'm using my Shag built the one, which
Mhm.
is like a linear rotary drive
Mhm.
machine. So that's like my favorite shader.
Yeah.
That thing works great, and I almost never have issues with it. I never have to reset it up. I set it up the same way every single time, and it just works.
Yeah.
But with the pen, there's always some weird crap going on,
Yeah.
and you have to deal with it for the
Mhm.
convenience, because
Mhm.
the convenience is obviously like worth a lot more. I
Yeah.
think at times. Um,
I
but yeah.
I like the pens, but I have tried coil machines. I tried
Hmm.
the Dan Cuban Sidewinder and another one. I can't
Hmm.
remember what it was because I borrowed it from a buddy, and
Hmm.
I like them. They hit really really hard. Like
Oh yeah.
I wasn't working as hard as I do
Hmm.
with the pen machine.
Yep.
Sometimes I feel like I gotta like go in there
You have to
to get a
really
line.
like stretch the
Yeah.
skin and get it at
Mhm.
like a proper angle to get like the tooth of the needle into the
Mhm.
skin. Whereas like that Dan Cuban, just you can just float it
Oh yeah.
basically.
But I don't like the just I don't know all about machines. My
Hmm.
mentor had a
Hmm.
Bishop. So that's what I got. And
Right.
so like
Right.
even though he had some coils and I'd break them down and stuff, I there's so many like the rubber bands you were talking about, or you
Hmm.
have to listen to it and you have to
Hmm.
really tinker with it.
Oh yeah.
And I technically I can't do all of that and like
Hmm.
be into the tattoo as well, you know?
Well,
It's
and
hard.
a coil machine is great. A well built coil machine. Like I have several
Mhm.
Jefferson manufacturing coil machines. They're wonderful. But I think with anyone who's tattoos for hours and hours on end, a coil machine, it heats up and it loses its magnetism a little bit,
Mhm.
so it loses some power. And I always experience that. So for like shorter tattoos, smaller traditional tattoos,
Mhm.
I'll bust out my coils like for
Mhm.
sure. I almost prefer the feel of a coil.
Mhm.
That's why I kind of switched over to the Dan Cuban because it's closer to a coil, but it has that consistency,
Yeah.
doesn't overheat, you don't get the magnetism issues. So, um, but like I taught my apprentice Jimmy on coils,
Mhm.
and I used coils the whole time I was teaching him
Mhm.
essentially, and they're great,
Mhm.
and they, you know, it's good to learn how to cut springs. It's good to learn
Mhm.
how to build a coil machine from the ground up. I mean, my apprentice, he took it upon himself to build a coil like besides the frame. He did everything. I mean, he built the coils
That's
himself and he
awesome.
like wrapped them. And
Mhm.
I mean, I was like, dude, you're awesome because I didn't do that.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a traditional apprenticeship, but I didn't build a tattoo machine
Mhm.
or anything. So
Yeah, what
Yeah.
was your apprenticeship like? And it was here in Colorado,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was up in Greeley.
Oh, it was in Greeley?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah. And the apprenticeship, it was hard.
Mhm.
Like, and I was young too. And I'm a sensitive dude. I'm so sensitive.
I mean,
So
you're telling me I'm
I
sensitive too. It was
I
hard.
didn't, I'm not this like big burly tough guy, like all these tattoos are just,
Mhm.
they're an exterior, to keep you away, but like I'm sensitive, and that shit was fucking hard
Mhm.
for sure.
What was the hardest thing about it? Was it like the learning, or like I'm sure you got hazed. Everybody gets hazed during their
Yeah,
apprenticeship
I
for the most
mean,
part.
really, I think the hardest thing was just like, I don't know, all those things together, but then like just being introduced to tattooing and the culture and
Mhm.
everything, and watching, dudes that have been tattooing for probably about a decade at that point, they were having their like first kind of like lull, where they're like, maybe they didn't feel that love for it that you initially feel,
Yes,
right?
that's how my
And I'm
mentor
speaking
was.
I'm speaking for them, but it's something that I witnessed a little bit,
Mhm.
where it was tough sometimes, and I think that was hard, watching the people who were teaching me kind of be like, oh, this fucking
Burn out
sucks,
on it.
a little burnout.
Yeah.
So um my apprenticeship, I mean, like, I burned a bridge with
Mhm.
them at first. I stayed for the whole 2 years. I made sure I committed to that.
Mhm.
But towards the later end of those 2 years, I was hating going into work every
Yeah.
day. I didn't feel good. I never felt anxiety before that. So
Mhm.
like the first time I'm like, what is this feeling in my gut? God, I feel awful going into work. I feel like something bad's gonna happen every
Mhm.
day. Um, and so, eventually I was like, fuck this. And I actually thought I was going to quit altogether, like not
Really?
even tattoo anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. By the end of that, I was working at a taco, not a taco shop, but like a Mexican food
Mhm.
supplier place that was like right next door to the tattoo shop. And that guy, Arturo, he was so nice. And like, he was telling me every day, he's like, give up that tattooing, come join me,
Mhm.
come work for me, man. You'd be great. You speak Spanish, you're great with people. I'll teach you everything. And towards the end of my apprenticeship, that genuinely sounded better
Mhm.
than sticking there. um, and I quit exactly on my 2 year date. I fucking packed up all my shit. I cleaned the shop one last time. I shook everyone's hand. They were, of course, not very happy.
Yeah.
No one was. I think it was kind of funny to them a little bit. They were like, "What the fuck? Like,
Mhm.
okay, whatever. Do whatever you want, dude." Um, but after working at that Mexican food place, I ended up realizing, like, holy shit, like I just spent 2 years of my life for nothing.
Mhm.
And this is really what I want to do. I want to make art for the rest of my life. I do like tattooing.
Mhm.
I just didn't like the environment that I was in at the time. Now, fast forward many, many years later, I realized that some of that hardness was warranted because I was kind of a cocky dude, I guess. Like, I,
Mhm.
I thought I was so fucking good at art, and I thought I knew better than everyone around me. And tattooing's different. It comes with experience, all these different things that happen. And I didn't really realize how hard tattooing was going to be after the apprenticeship.
Mhm.
I thought the apprenticeship was hard. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
tattooing altogether is a lot. So
Mhm.
um
Do you think it was a detriment that you were young going into the tattoo industry?
no, no,
No.
I don't. I think it was good to go in young because you just have that many more years of experience, and then
Mhm.
you reach your stride, in your 30s. If you start in your early 20s, by the time you're in your 30s, you're probably banging out some good work if you've
Mhm.
been, successful, and you take your time and you do a really good job every single time. You get better. People that start a little bit later, I feel like they have to work harder,
Yeah.
like way harder, to get to the same point. So I think it was good that I started early, but it just wasn't I wasn't like my apprentice, that's for sure. My apprentice, I'd tell him something and he would just do it,
Mhm.
and he would listen to me, and he wouldn't argue, and he wouldn't act like he knew better or anything. He just did it, and that was to his benefit fully
Yeah.
because he's like skyrocketing now.
Mhm.
He's super super good at a very early age in tattooing.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, tattooing is so fucking hard. I mean, I thought I was gonna give up, at
Yeah.
first. I'm glad I didn't.
Mhm.
And that kind of goes into like where I got my first job as a professional tattooer, because it was like probably 3 weeks after I quit my apprenticeship. My girlfriend at the time was like, what the hell are you doing? Like
Yeah.
this is not good, dude. You need to just go take your portfolio into Denver and go get
Mhm.
hired. And me, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I'm gonna get hired.
Yeah.
Like I quit my apprenticeship. Like I don't think my tattoos are that good. And then I went to the first place that was recommended, Illustrated Gypsy. Chris Evans recommended me that place. He hooked me up with a little AB like on off switch
Mhm.
for my power supply. So that was cool. He was just a really nice guy and he helped me out. And I went into Illustrated Gypsy, and I feel like I definitely didn't give them the full story, you know?
Oh no.
And so they look at my portfolio and they're assuming that I've been tattooing for a couple years
Mm.
rather than fresh out of my
Yeah.
apprenticeship with no equipment. So when I got hired, they're like, "Yeah, join us. You know, like that's fine. You're great. You know." I didn't have a workbench. I didn't
Mm.
have machines. I think no, maybe I had. Yeah, no, I had machines. I had Paco Rollins machines, but I didn't have like a full ink set.
Mhm.
I didn't have needles. I didn't have fucking. I had some tubes, I guess. Yeah, it was embarrassing, and they were all like, "What? Why don't you have anything? What are you doing? This is kind of weird." And
Yeah.
then many years later, like I'm in the car with the Andy Liggett, who owns the shop now, and she was like, I told her like the whole story, and she was like, "Damn, Maddie, like what the fuck? Like you didn't tell us the truth, but I'm glad that we hired you, you know,
Yeah.
because it ended up working out great. I love those guys, and that was a really great experience following, the hard part, which is your
Mhm.
apprenticeship. And then it gets harder though in a different way because you're
Yeah.
thrown to the wolves at that point.
Mhm.
You might have everyone in the shop mentoring you and helping you out, but
Mhm.
it's up to you to do a
Yeah.
good job and take the walk-ins and get better and everything.
Mhm.
So
What's
yeah.
the biggest thing that you learned throughout that journey of like going through your apprenticeship and then like quitting for a little bit and then
hmm
coming back to it?
I think it was just that if you're like me, you don't want to work for someone else really
Yeah.
and like be subordinate to them, and just not doing the thing that you love. And
Mhm.
art, for me, art and music were the two things that I loved more than anything. So when I left that apprenticeship and quit for a little bit, I like panicked because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go
Mhm.
down this other path now. I'm going to give up my dream path for a more logical path, I guess,
Mhm.
that made more sense. But yeah, I'm that was hard, just letting go of that dream at first, and then coming back to it, I was like so relieved,
Yeah.
like getting back into tattooing, and glad I pursued it fully after
Mhm.
that. um, but I started in 2009.
Mhm.
It was the summer of my 11th grade year. I was mopping a floor at a tattoo shop in Rifle. So like I was introduced to tattooing
Young.
around 2009.
Yeah.
And then summer of 2010, when I graduated high school, I actually joined with that shop in Rifle as an apprentice.
Mhm.
But that was very, very bad.
Yeah.
It was like the blind leading the blind. And of course, my teacher at the time was like, "You tell me, Mr. Art
Mhm.
School." And I'm like, "I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, what
Mhm.
do you mean? I have no idea." I did a tattoo like within weeks. It's this really, really bad koi. I
That's a
took
lot of
took it
scales.
took it from a book in there that was
Yeah.
like not a great book either, not good reference. Yeah, it looks like a piece of corn or something,
Piece of
you know.
corn.
But did that, and I actually got told by a really great tattooer out in Grand Junction, Robbie Campbell. I was in like this metal band, and we
Mhm.
were all kind of mingling together, and played a show up at what was it called? I can't remember the name of the place. Something door or whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, Robbie comes up to me and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "No, no, come here, come here." He's like, "See this picture you posted of an armrest with no cover on it?" He's like, "What the
Oh
fuck is that? Why
no.
don't why doesn't your clipboard have a cover?" And I'm like, "What? I didn't know you had to do that.
Oh
We
shit.
wipe everything down. What do you mean? I wipe everything with Maticide." He's like, "Oh my God, no, dude. He's like, if you really want to be a tattoo artist and you want to do well and you want to give back to tattooing, he was like, fucking quit. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, do not learn from this person.
Yeah.
Seek out a different apprenticeship. And I was like, will you teach me? And he's like, fuck no, dude. No way. No way. So, seriously, that next day, I quit.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a chair kind of like this. It was my old mentor and this other guy she hired, and she was bragging about this tattoo, like 14 tattoos they did together. Mind you, this other guy has zero experience. He
Mm-hmm.
was tattooing at his house.
Oh no.
So they did like 14 tattoos on this guy. All of them sucked. Like they were so bad. And when I came in that day, I was like fired up because I was like, yeah, this isn't great. This is not good. I'm not going to end up being a good tattooer. And no one's ever told them that they suck.
Yeah.
So I was like, that sucked. This is bad. I'm not going to be a part of this. And she was like, good luck. Good luck. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see you later, man. So I was really fortunate that Robbie told me to quit,
Mm-hmm.
because then I actually found, a good apprenticeship. Mind you, it was hard
Yeah.
and you get hazed and all that shit. Probably wasn't as bad as 20 years prior,
Oh yeah.
And it was really hard for those dudes and the
Mm-hmm.
dudes before them. My hazing was mild, but it was still, hazing and shit.
Yeah.
And I made it through that. And I knew that traditional tattoos were like the top of the line for tattoos, in my opinion. And it was kind of like drilled into me. It's like traditional only,
Yeah. That's the
So
way.
that was good for me
Mm-hmm.
because I learned how to tattoo properly through
Mm-hmm.
traditional tattooing. And then as I gained experience, you start branching out into other, styles and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and you gain confidence because of your abilities in traditional. But yeah, um, anyways.
You talked about like whenever you started, you were like, "Oh, I'm the shit," and like I'm doing good tattoos. I feel like a lot of tattooers end up falling into that.
Yeah,
What's a good way that like you stay humble? Because I know that some tattoo artists I've met, they'll like be in their apprenticeship, they're like, "I'm the fucking shit," and
yeah,
they don't get out of that mindset. And I think it's to their detriment because they're
yeah,
never getting better.
yeah.
So like, what is your advice for them, and how do you make sure to like keep on yourself and stay humble? Of course, you have people around you who help you, but like you
You
yourself.
you want to get tattooed by really good tattooers, and you want to ask them a ton of questions. You want to surround yourself by really great tattooers and artists, and then ask for their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a lot of unsolicited advice, of course, in the beginning, which I took in. Every single time someone told me something, I made that adjustment, and that helped. But like, I think before tattooing, I was cocky, right? Because I was such a great artist up until then. Every single accolade of my life was related to my art.
Mm-hmm.
So I tied myself heavily to, my ego was my art.
Yeah, it's a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And coming to tattooing, I eventually I figured it out that I was no one,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to start really understanding what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
It just, self-realization is huge, and understanding, who you are in this big pool of
Mm-hmm.
tattooers. You just have to be open to thinking that you're not the shit.
Mm-hmm.
You get it's good to be confident, but at a certain point I was like, oh damn, like there's dudes that have been apprenticing that are on their second year of apprenticeship, and I've been tattooing maybe 3 years, and they're already 10 times better than me.
Yeah.
Why? And it's because they had, really, really, really good mentorship, and they probably,
Mm-hmm.
sat there and, didn't say anything, and they just listened.
Mm-hmm.
They just did what they were told. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of realized it, and I think anyone that struggles with that, they just need to go, go into a shop where you're amongst a bunch of heavy hitters,
Mm-hmm.
and just watch them and see what they do and see how they act and
Mm-hmm.
see how they draw and all these things. Like you'll quickly, see where you're lacking, I think,
Mm-hmm.
if you have any self-awareness at all.
Yeah. I think you want to strive to, this sounds might sound horrible,
Mhm.
but be the worst in the shop
Yeah,
so
well, I
that you
mean,
can
yeah,
get better.
just know your position, like if you're brand new, if you're the lowest person on the totem pole, you got to go in and watch every single
Mm-hmm.
tattoo when you're not tattooing. That was a big thing that I did, actually, that continued on through from my apprenticeship on to like my first 3 years of tattooing. I mean, I sat in with every single one of the artists at
Mm-hmm.
Illustrated Gypsy, which is now Rose Lady Tattoo. but I always know it as Illustrated Gypsy.
Mhm.
Um, I watched Isaac tattoo for hours and hours, and he's a black and gray realism
Mhm.
guy. Watched Andy tattoo for hours and hours, and she does like illustrative slash neo slash just like color realistic almost in a way. Very smooth blends. I learned all that from her.
Mhm.
Um, just be receptive, be open, surround yourself by good tattooers, and you can learn from anyone too. By the
Yeah.
way, any person at any skill level, I feel like you can learn a little bit from
Mhm.
anyone really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can ask 100 artists the same question and get 100 different
yeah,
answers.
they'll all say something
Yeah.
different for sure.
Yeah. 10 years in, are you still asking people
Hmm.
and talking to
Oh
people?
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, moving here was like I felt like it was my next step
Yeah, I was
up.
gonna ask about what brought you to Evergreen in
Yeah,
particular and this shop. This is a
I mean,
great shop.
it's a gorgeous shop. I've always known about Black Sage. Well, not always. It probably last like 4 or 5 years. I've
Mhm.
known about them. I've kind of peeked in and seen stuff online and everything. Know who's working there, and I've been following Milo, who's been working here for a while. I've been following him since I started tattooing
Mhm.
because he was up in Steamboat for many years. So like it was just like a dream to work at a place like this and be surrounded by some of my favorite tattooers that I've been watching since the beginning.
Mhm.
So um, it was a big step up just because now I'm surrounded by people who are better than me, or have
Yeah.
more experience, and I can ask them a ton of questions and stand in and watch them, and
Mhm.
they say the same thing about me, which is
Mhm.
cool. They're like, "Oh man, I'll go stand in your booth and watch you tattoo," and be like, "What the fuck is he doing there? Like, holy shit!" And then they ask me. We're all like learning from each other.
Yeah.
There's never any end to the learning in
Mhm.
tattooing, and I think any career that you choose, you should not think that you know everything,
Yeah.
because this is how you keep getting better. You just know that there's another step that you got to
Mhm.
make, and you work really hard to make that next step. Every couple of years, you
Mhm.
just get better and better and better. Um,
Do you think that's a problem with like more old school tattoo artists like you were talking about earlier? They get kind of burnt out and like tired of it. Do you think it's because they feel like they've learned everything or like
I think tattooing is just fucking hard.
yeah.
It's hard on your body, it's hard on your mind, and when you have a family too, it's
Mhm.
really draining. So I didn't blame them. Now that I know what I know after all these years, I don't blame them for being a little burnout when they
Mhm.
hit around the 10-year mark, because guess what? I feel burnout too.
Yeah.
It's a struggle still. I think really, really old school tattooers might be stuck in their ways because that it was taught to them to be one way
Mhm.
only, that this is the right way. And that's just a type of person,
Yeah.
really, because there's a ton of old school tattooers that are fucking excellent,
Mhm.
that keep getting better every year. Dave Wolf is an amazing tattooer down in Colorado Springs, and in my opinion, he's one of the best. I would say, like, just overall,
Mhm.
he's been tattooing for longer than I've been alive, and he just keeps getting better.
Mhm.
And like my elbows by him, that's almost 10 years
Oh, dude,
old.
that's sick.
I mean, look at that shit.
Yeah.
10 years, it's incredible. My neck's by him.
Mhm.
He drew everything on with Sharpie. That
That's
was
fucking
incredibly
crazy.
inspiring. It was the
Yeah, that's
first time
awesome.
I'd ever seen anyone draw anything with Sharpie. I didn't
Mhm.
know you could do that, honestly. I had no idea, and he inspired me immensely. Um, but he's an example of a tattooer that at the time when he tattooed me, he probably was close to 30 years of tattooing, and
Mhm.
he never went downhill. He's always receptive. I'm sure
Mhm.
he learns from all of his coworkers or his workers, because he owns the shop. Um, but yeah, I think it just depends on the type of person you are.
Yeah.
Like you can be lazy and be a tattooer for 20 plus years.
Mhm.
Just skating by.
Mhm.
You know, and I've seen that. From people that aren't very skilled at art either, and they're
Mhm.
still tattooing. 20, 30 years into it. I'm like, holy crap, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But they just depend on the turnaround. You
Mhm.
get a new person every day walking,
Yeah.
whatever, who cares? Do a whatever tattoo, you get paid, you go home, you pay your bills. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter to them. But I'm more like, I want to be the best for
Mhm.
myself, because that's just like a personal thing. I've always striven to be the best,
Yeah.
so like,
And for your clients.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So
I there's a lot of podcasts out there for tattooing, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of them talk about like the technical aspects of
Yeah.
tattooing.
Yep.
But I want to talk about on
Mm-hmm.
here like the mental aspects
Oh
and
yeah.
dealing with clients,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's a big thing in of itself. And even if
Mm-hmm.
you have the most bomb ass apprenticeship and they teach you everything about tattooing, there's still situations you're going to get into with
Right.
clients where there's no etiquette, and there's like you have to figure out how to deal with that. What was that like for you, and how do you go about like booking processes with your clients if you're like not vibing with a client, and
Mm.
like what's that like for you?
I mean, I try not to take in a client that I immediately have a gut feeling about.
Mhm.
Um, and that's usually someone who's like really particular. Just because I struggle with that, I'd rather just draw my own thing and not have like a lot of outside sources of like
Mhm.
it needs to be like this, it needs to be like this, and like this. So like that's like a quick like way for me, like an initial email kind
Mhm.
of gives you an idea of what type of person this is and how much their leeway they're going to give you, you know. So I usually cut it off pretty quick. You know,
Yeah.
when I don't feel right, I say, you know, I'm probably not the right artist for you, and here's five other artists that I think would do
Mhm.
well. Um, but like, yeah, navigating a tough client, man, it's hard. It takes years to figure out how to do it
Mhm.
properly. Um, I would say this is something I was talking with my client yesterday. When I was younger in tattooing, I was way more offended by things, offended by people showing up late,
Mhm.
offended by whatever, scratchers, you name it, you know. And nowadays, as I've gotten older, I feel like you got to give people leeway too, you know.
Mhm.
So like if they're late, it's okay, don't worry about it, you know. Maybe if they're an hour late, that sucks. Talk to them like a you know an
Mhm.
adult, but like freaking out at a client or you know allowing them to freak out at you, like that sucks and that's
Mhm.
hard to navigate. And um, I just try to keep that out of
Mhm.
my life, you know.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of bad stories to tell you, you know. I don't have like a super crazy bad horror story, just a
Mhm.
lot of like walk-ins maybe that were like super rude and then like tried to command the situation, tried to pay me before the tattoo was
Mhm.
even done. I hate that shit. I don't want to deal with that. Um, but yeah, just like it's really hard. Every single person is different,
Mhm.
and
Do
I
you
feel like
think whenever you, sorry to interrupt
no,
you,
you're good.
whenever you started in the tattoo industry,
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about like getting offended.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because you were new to the tattoo industry? So, and also like we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about, you're super like my art is me. So were you
Yeah.
getting offended too about like, oh, they want to change this or all that? And how did you
Yeah.
get over that?
Hmm.
When did that click for you that like that's not a big deal? Because I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
still I have what you're saying. I do too. I'll get a
Yeah.
little bit uptight about, oh, they want to change that, or
I mean, still
they're
to this
late.
day, I feel a little bit, you know, yucky
Mhm.
when I work on a drawing or whatever, and someone's like, "No, I don't like that." It doesn't happen often, but it happens
Mhm.
every once in a while. And in my opinion, when that does happen, you need to take a deep breath and remember that this person is paying you
Mhm.
and you're going to mark them for life. And if you give them a bad experience, they're always going to remember
Mhm.
that experience through their tattoo. It's
Yeah.
not fun when you
Mhm.
give someone, you know, I've maybe like I can count enough on one hand that I've probably given someone a subpar experience, you know,
Mhm.
where, you know, I was having a bad day or they were having a bad day
Mhm.
and we kind of butted heads a little bit. But I always make sure to apologize if I'm in the
Yeah.
wrong, if I say something, if I get upset and I'm quick to temper or whatever, I almost always say, you know what, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I didn't mean to get all upset. You know,
Mhm.
I didn't sleep much last night, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
You just got to be real with people.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's hard when someone doesn't like your drawing because it's like, dude, you picked me out.
Mhm.
Now that's more the case for me now because I'm
Mhm.
10 years into it. People do pick me out now because my style is unique. They
Yeah.
want that. So it's confusing when someone comes to me for my style and they've already generated an AI image or whatever it is,
Or
you
they're like,
know.
I want a mandala.
Yeah, yeah, I love mandalas though. Those are fun to do in a traditional way. I try to spin it,
Mhm.
whichever, whatever they want.
In your
I'm
style.
like, are you cool
Yeah.
with me doing my thing? And almost always, it's like a miscommunication
Yeah.
with people when they're like, I want it to be like this, but I want you to do your own thing, and then you're like, oh shit, well, what do I do? My own thing or like this image, you
Yeah.
know? So you just have to clarify, hey, I'm gonna take your image and I'm going to make it my thing.
Mhm.
And if you don't like it, it's okay. We'll
Yeah.
try to adjust it at the time of the appointment. And then if it doesn't work after that, that's okay.
Mhm.
You don't need to get permanently marked by me with something that you don't resonate with, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, you just got to be cool with people.
Yeah, giving
That's
people
the
that
best way
option.
to do it. Just
Yeah.
be calm and collected and
Mhm.
suck it up when you feel hurt because, like, in the end, we're a service industry and, you got to make money too at some point.
Yeah.
Like when I was young, I didn't have to make a ton of money. So I could say no to way more.
Mhm.
Now, I don't say no to a lot of shit. I've got a family, I got to
Mhm.
feed them, and I got to make things, smooth for,
Yeah.
bills and everything. So I try to work out each and
Mhm.
every design that comes my way
Mhm.
and make it work
When
for
I
people.
when I am feeling like that way and I'm like getting upset about stuff, I
Hmm.
do think about the fact that like without our clients, we wouldn't have a job. I mean,
Exactly.
they are like letting us
Hmm.
do art, and this
Hmm.
is like I'll get burnout sometimes because I'm
Hmm.
like frustrated with somebody like being new to, and then just moving back to Colorado, having to establish
Yeah.
clientele. I'm
Yeah.
working with a lot of people who like not necessarily is my style, but I got
Hmm.
to do it because bills
Hmm.
got to get
Yeah.
paid.
Got to do it.
But I'll try to think about like it could be worse. I could be working in the restaurant industry, which I have done before. Like I'm able
Yeah.
to travel. I can make my own schedule. I don't really have a boss, so
Yeah.
it's like it's a really good job. And I feel like we
Hmm.
sometimes get stuck in our own egos of like
Oh, yeah.
irritation.
And I don't know, it's such a good job and it is so cushy, when you
Mhm.
compare it to a hard labor job or a serving job or whatever. I think you do get used to it being easy,
Mhm.
in that way. Like you could control your
Yeah.
schedule. You get to control everything. You don't have to work under some dude being like, you gotta be here
Mhm.
until this time or whatever, which does happen in tattooing, by
Yeah.
the way. That I feel like that sucks.
Mhm.
I'd rather have the freedom. But yeah, we have a great life and we should be thankful. And as soon as it gets hard, you got to just like take a step back and
Mhm.
be like, is it me, or
Mhm.
what do I need to change in order to make this easier for me and easier for my clients,
Mhm.
just make my life better.
Yeah, I feel like it comes with ebbs and flows and how
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah, especially unfortunately like what's going on in your life. As much as tattooers try to leave stuff at the door,
Hmm.
we're all just people and
Hmm.
creatives in general are very emotional.
Oh yeah.
So like it's an energy exchange, and so when we're feeling bad, it's like
Yeah.
we come into the shop and it's hard to shake that off sometimes.
It's infinitely harder
Mhm.
when you decide to have a family
Mhm.
and you have crappy sleep for weeks on end, and then you got to come in and do, like, for example, like for me right now, like, maybe I slept 3 hours, and then I got to do a back piece
Yeah.
the next day. Oh my god, that's so hard.
Mhm.
You just got to trudge through it, just do it and make it happen,
Mhm.
and it's going to be really hard. Another thing I tell young tattooers is like, this doesn't get easier
Mhm.
as you get better. In fact, it gets much, much harder because like the weight of tattooing is so strong when you get to the point where you're marking someone's whole body.
Yeah.
That weighs heavy on me,
Mhm.
and I make sure to do my best job every time. But there's always like little imperfections where I
Yeah.
beat myself up about, because I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. But to care more is important, and as you get better, you're going to care more. It's gonna just it takes up so much more of your time.
Mhm.
It's like when you're early in your career, that's the easiest part. That's when you're like discovering who you are, and you have a lot of time to draw. And
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, I have my custom tattoos every single day, so my drawing is for the custom
Yeah.
tattoo. I don't get a lot of time to just draw for fun
Mhm.
anymore. I really want to do that more, but
Mhm.
that takes, dedication and, you know, some strict guidelines with your
Mhm.
own schedule and everything to make that work. Um, but yeah, tattooing does get very hard
Yeah.
once you get better. The technical aspect gets easier, but everything else, the art,
Mhm.
it's, yeah,
A lot of balls
infinitely.
to juggle.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I did want to ask you about your family. I recently interviewed Taylor at Area
yeah, yeah.
69.
Cool.
And
Love those guys.
she
Yeah.
has a baby now, and
Yep.
so she was talking about she's only tattooing like I think she said 2 or 3 times a week,
Yep.
very minimal
Yep.
tattooing. And so I wanted to know like uh in a different perspective, like a father's perspective
Mm-hmm.
with tattooing,
Mm-hmm.
and like what's that like for you, and then
Mm-hmm.
also like she touched on it a little bit, but also like how you feel about going home doing custom designs, but you're also
Yeah.
trying to pay attention to your family.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Oh
So
man. Yeah. I mean, you just got to do it. this is what we chose, you know?
Mhm.
So it is really hard. It's really tiring. And yeah, I'd much rather go home and just chill and hang out with my family, you know? And for the most part, I would say probably like 60% of my tattoo designs are drawn the morning of the tattoo
Oh my
because
god, I would be
I
stressed.
have, you know, 6 hours
Yeah.
to draw. It doesn't take me that long to draw things anymore.
Mhm.
But yeah, in the beginning, fuck no. I could never do
I'll
that.
do it
Oh
a
my
couple
God.
days before if it's something super complicated, like a week ahead of time,
Yeah,
because I
like
have to marinate on it.
yep. So like for me, that's been an adjustment, just like trying my best to figure out when I need to draw things, you know, because if I do wait to the morning of it, better be something pretty simple.
Mhm.
The harder ones, you know, yeah, I'm coming home and then, you know, I eat dinner, I'm tired, we put the kid to bed, you got about an hour and a half
Mhm.
or so with her, and you know, sometimes you got to lay down with the kiddo while she's falling asleep. That takes time too.
Mhm.
And then you're tired when you get up from the bed because you're like, oh my God, I got to
Mhm.
draw this thing. And then you stay up till, you know, 10 or 11 o'clock drawing and go to bed, wake up very early because your kid will wake up very early.
Mhm.
It's definitely adjustment. My life was easy before all that, you know,
Mhm.
but I thought that was hard.
Yeah.
So it's just like every new season of your life, it'll get harder and you just figure it out, you know.
Mhm.
You get used to it, I guess, in a way.
Mhm.
uh, but yeah, having a family, it's a big responsibility, so it's changed the way I feel about tattooing. And
Mhm.
I just
Do you put tattooing more like second now? Because I know for
mhm,
I'm every tattooer, it's comes first. No matter what your relationships, your family, tattooing always comes first. So like for you now having a family of your
mhm.
own, have you put it second?
You know, I think I've never glorified tattooing to the point where it is the end all be all of my life.
Mhm.
I see a lot of my peers, and nothing against them because like it takes a lot of time to dedicate your whole life to tattooing and make
Mhm.
it number one. I don't think it's ever been number one. I've always like cherished my time doing the things that I love besides tattooing, you know.
Mhm.
So I think it always kind of sits right underneath, you know, like before my number one would have been just like my free time and going fishing and making art for myself. And now my number one is my family and then
Mhm.
tattooing and then fishing and all that other stuff. So
Mhm.
like I don't know, like tattooing is great and everything, but if you make it everything your whole life, I feel like that's you're like letting go other parts of your life that are equally as enjoyable.
Mhm.
So like, you know, a separation of work and family time and play is crucial for my, you
Mhm.
know, life. Like I don't do well when it's all in, you know,
Yeah.
with one thing, because I'll get burnout way faster that
Mhm.
way. So
How do
I,
you balance that? Because it's hard for people to
mm,
balance those things.
it's just when I can give myself time, you know, to go fishing or whatever, I take it.
Mhm.
You know, I think there's less room for ruminating about it, and
Mhm.
you know, you just do it. So if you got a little sliver of time to go do something fun, go do it, and then you're back on it with tattooing or whatever. Just try to give yourself a break every once
Mhm.
in a while too. Like give yourself a 3 day weekend. You can schedule your own
Mhm.
stuff, you know. So I mean, I work hard when I'm working, and I'm here every day that I'm here. I'm doing a tattoo, and
Mhm.
you know, I don't, you know, waste my time. You know, if I'm not going to be tattooing, well, guess what? I'm going to go home, hang out with my family, or I'm going to
Mhm.
go fishing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot. It's
Mhm.
a lot to juggle. I don't know if I have an easy way to put it. It's just you just figure it out as you go. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the like less glamorized
Mm-hmm.
part of tattooing, which is
Mm-hmm.
like we don't get retirements, we don't
Yeah.
get health care,
Mm-hmm.
and then as far as like tattooing for a long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard on your body.
Yeah.
Like our clients will be like, "Oh, it was uncomfortable sitting that way," and we're like shrimps, and our
Yeah.
hands hurt and our backs hurt. So, what do you do to stay vigilant on your health, and then also like how are you planning for the future, especially having a kid when you don't have
So
those things in place?
yeah, this is actually a really good question because I just started figuring out in the last like maybe 3 years what I should have been doing this whole time. You know, yeah, we don't get health care from our job. We don't get, a retirement thing or anything like that. But it is up to you to make that happen for yourself. You need to have a Roth IRA. You
Mhm.
have to max it out every year. I'm telling you, if you start now and you do that, you're going to be a millionaire when you retire. Like, guaranteed. It is so easy. No one talks about it. No one ever tells you, like, we waste all this money on crap.
Mhm.
You waste money going to the corner store or whatever it is, weed, booze, you name it.
Mhm.
But like, all that money could be put into a Roth IRA
Mhm.
instead, and you'd be set up for retirement.
Mhm.
Retirement can happen for a tattooer.
Mhm.
I very much think it can. You can make good money when you're at your stride in your career. That should be delegated to certain things, and then like
Mhm.
same thing with health insurance. I hear a lot of people complain, oh my God, like I don't have health insurance. It's too expensive. I buy it. I make it work. I
Mhm.
figure it out, and there are subsidies. Well, there were some help,
Mhm.
right? But now it's getting a little tighter. But I think it's a requirement. You have to build it into your bills,
Mhm.
you have to plan ahead. And I actually started listening to Dave Ramsey in the last few years, and his advice is awesome
Mhm.
for, someone who's self-employed, who doesn't get a regular paycheck. You get paid every day or whatever,
Yeah.
it's really hard to manage your money
Mhm.
because you get paid in cash sometimes, and at first you think you're hood rich. You got freaking $1,000 in your hand. You're like, shit, dude, I'm good, man. Like, before tattooing, I made I made like $300 a week,
Mhm.
like working like a $7
Mhm.
an hour job or whatever. Like, I thought I was doing okay. When I started making like $600 a week, I was like, shit, I'm good. And like every year your
Mhm.
bills add up, they get higher and higher, you make more money. Don't waste it. Don't waste your money. I did that. I made the biggest mistakes throughout all of my younger years in tattooing. I didn't save any money.
Mhm.
I didn't think about retirement. I kind of thought, screw it, I'm just going to be a tattooer and I'm probably going to die young.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever, doesn't matter. And
How
now
did you get into
mhm,
learning about the Roth IRA?
it's from Dave Ramsey.
Really?
Yeah. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. And then my in-laws actually are really knowledgeable. They had like normal jobs.
Mhm.
My father-in-law worked in a plant, like a plastics plant, his whole life, like his whole career.
Mhm.
Guess what? They're retiring comfortable.
Mhm.
And then he talks to me about my job, and he's like, God, you're so lucky. Like, you get to do what you want and you make good money doing it. He's like, you're going to be fine. You just have to allocate that money in the right way.
Mhm.
And once you allocate all that money and you pay your taxes correctly, and you
Mhm.
you do your Roth IRA, and then you have your health savings or your health insurance that you do,
Mhm.
that take home gets much lower, but then you're safe.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of tattooers, including myself, who make all the money and then spend it all every
Uh-huh.
year. So you might even be negative after a
Yeah.
year. And
Tattooers
you're like,
love going to conventions and
jeez.
just
Yeah.
trinkets and shit. Yeah.
And conventions are great because you can write them all off.
Mhm.
That's a tax benefit. But the setting yourself up with the correct business model, like
Mhm.
I'm an S corp. I used to be just an LLC. Now I'm an S corp. I
Mhm.
pay myself a wage,
Mhm.
and then I pay taxes to the state and to
Does
the
that make your
IRS.
taxes easier? Because I
Mhm.
had been
Yeah,
talking to
it
my
does.
tax lady about making an LLC so that
Oh,
I could like
you
pay
should.
myself out, especially with the podcast having that
Yeah.
on top of it.
I mean, you definitely need to have an LLC. You definitely, and then once you get to a certain point, you're 10 years in or whatever, you should consider doing an S corp instead,
Mhm.
because you'll save so much more money. And that's all knowledge that comes from just kind of diving into like the Dave Ramsey stuff, or going and talking to a financial advisor, hiring a CPA.
Mhm.
I mean, I hired a CPA 2-3 years ago, and that's been huge too.
Mhm.
Um, these are all really important things that I think young tattooers don't think they need to do, maybe necessarily, because they're not
Mhm.
there yet. But if you start early, oh my gosh, compound interest
Mhm.
on a Roth IRA, if you start earlier, you're just that many more years. Like, it was like every 7 years, your money doubles in a
Mhm.
Roth IRA. I mean, think about that. And then compounding over the years, you could retire on a modest income is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Is like that's what my in-laws did. They retired at a modest income. My
Mhm.
parents, though, they were both self-employed. One was a blacksmith, one was a
Mhm.
barber, and they didn't choose that path. They didn't
Mhm.
invest, and a lot of things happened to them too, which made it harder for them
Mhm.
to even invest their money. So we were living, paycheck to paycheck. But if you can make room for that, man, you're going to be set up for success in the
Mhm.
future. Like now, here I am now, I'm scrambling to make up for all those years that I
Mhm.
messed up, and it takes a while to get out of that hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then, tattooing every day is fucking hard.
Mhm.
And especially when you do bigger work, you're there longer in the same position. Your
Mhm.
shoulder starts to feel like it's about to fall off, and then you wonder, holy shit, how many years do I have in me
Mhm.
actually to do this? Because this is the only thing I know how to do. It's the
Yeah.
only way I can make money realistically in this, in that amount,
Mhm.
without starting completely over and going to school. And your mind just kind of goes, oh fuck,
Yeah.
like you really should pay attention to your money
Mhm.
and try your best to invest right now. I'm telling you, it's fucking it's easy. It's stupid simple,
Mhm.
but no one wants to try it, because they're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's all foreign. But yeah.
I don't think it's like talked about enough in the industry at all.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
no one talks about that
tattooers
shit.
are like you said, I'm gonna die tattooing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But then they end up having families,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Oh, I'm fucked."
Yeah. Like, I don't want to die tattooing.
Yeah.
No fucking way. I want to die fishing. I want to retire one day.
Mhm.
I love tattooing. It's given me everything. I can't imagine doing anything else. But I don't want to do it until I'm
Mhm.
fucking 65. Like my shoulder already hurts so much. Like I'm gonna have to get surgery here pretty soon to fix that.
That
I got a
sucks,
plan for that
man.
time that I'm out. I don't get
Mhm.
paid for that.
Mhm.
Um, so you got to make the best of what you have, and
Mhm.
I feel like right now I'm at that point where shit's good,
Yeah.
and I've got clientele coming in, and I'm
Mhm.
getting better and better and doing bigger pieces, and I got to maintain that for the next fucking
Mhm.
15, 20 years at least to make sure that I can retire.
Mhm.
But a younger tattooer, you start in your 20s, like you're going to be fine as long as
Mhm.
you're consistent with it.
Mhm.
But
I
yeah.
want to talk about a little bit. I know there's a lot of tattoo artists right now that are getting hit by like it's
Mm-hmm.
slow. It's
Oh yeah.
already the slow
Yeah.
season and then the economy and so people are
Yeah.
struggling.
Oh
Has
yeah.
that hit you at all and like how do you manage and deal with that and get clientele in when
Yeah.
it is the slow season?
Yeah. So like for a while there was no slow season for me.
Mhm.
Like maybe the first probably the first 6 or 7 years there was a slow season,
Mhm.
and then it started picking up, and then right after that was COVID,
Mhm.
and then I opened my own shop, and then it was like just awesome. There
Yeah.
was no stopping.
Like a
I was
boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There was a huge boom. I think everyone experienced it too, but um I've maintained a certain level of booking, but then when I moved out here, I thought for sure I'd be doing better at first,
Mhm.
but I moved in November. That's
Mhm.
slow season.
Yeah.
And there was one point where I didn't have tattoos for 2 weeks. And I was like freaking out because it
Mhm.
was the first time that's ever happened since the beginning. Um, so yeah, like, oh my God, dude, you have to keep the ball rolling, really.
Mhm.
And you can't complain. I that's such an old schooler thing to say, right? But don't complain online. It's such a bad look, in my
Mhm.
opinion. People want people to tattoo them that are positive, and
Yeah.
like they're like, maybe I'm not tattooing these weeks, but I painted all these things or I
Mhm.
made all this art and I'm happy and I'm being positive about it. And um, you can't fall into that rut. And
Mhm.
it's weird. Like I just put up my blinders, like I feel for people that are struggling right now. That sucks.
Mhm.
But like I'm pretending like that shit doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I am focused on my clientele. I'm focused on my art. I'm focused
Mhm.
on maintaining my social media presence. And like I'm still not doing what other people are doing, making reels like crazy,
Yeah.
popular culture
It's
shit.
hard. There's
Like
always something fucking new.
I mean, I probably will eventually
Mhm.
start to do that, but um, maintaining your social media without reels and everything it's hard. You know, you
Mhm.
got to be like pumping out good tattoos. They have to be photographed well.
Mhm.
You got to be interacting with all your comments. You got to be liking everything. You got to be talking to other tattooers. You got to be posting on your stories, and all that gets you a handful of new clients.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, you know, you hit 1 million followers and everyone's just coming in, you know,
Mhm.
all the time. It still does not equate exactly, you know.
Mhm.
So um, there's times where there's a lull, you know,
Mhm.
and I I keep it up, you know. I
Mhm.
just
Would you
try
say
to stay
social
positive.
media is like the biggest way you've built clientele? Or like
It's
what's the way that you would recommend for people to build clientele and to get people in the door?
it helps.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely. It's like your portfolio, you
Mhm.
know. So you don't want dark, dingy photos. You probably shouldn't put your worst work
Mhm.
on, you know, or whatever. Like, don't like put your best shit up. Hopefully, you're only putting out your best shit every single
Mhm.
time, right? But um, yeah, just like maintaining your social media is important. But the way I get the most clientele is word of mouth,
Mm.
and I hear that from all of my clients who come back over and over again. They're like, yo, I went to this restaurant. Someone walked up to me and was like, yo, that tattoo's sick. Who did that?
Mhm.
Matt Renner. Oh, I already know who he is. I saw one of his fish tattoos. That's where the social media aspect
Mhm.
comes in. That like adds to the credibility, you
Mhm.
know? And so once they get to see the tattoo in person, they see it looks really good. They come book with me. They do the same thing. They go somewhere. They show it off. I mean, I have some clients of mine who, you know, they're from out of state or whatever, and they're like, oh, I went and got tattooed in Kansas somewhere, you know. And one of the tattooers in the shop was like, that's Matt Renner's work, can
Mhm.
I see that shit? And that's fucking wild. But that's because social media plus the clients talking about your
Mhm.
work, that's how you spread,
Mhm.
you know. And if you're not giving people a good experience, and if you're dead silent while you're tattooing, how are they supposed to relate to
Yeah.
you? You know, you have to be relatable.
Mhm.
And like fishing, for example, has been huge for me because I love fishing just naturally. It's what I would do if I'm
Mhm.
not tattooing, you know. And that's helped me relate to this whole new group of potential clients.
Mhm.
And, you know, making fish art, making fish tattoos, doing
You
brand
found a niche.
collaborations. Yeah, that
Mhm.
that is pretty much my niche, on top of just taking traditional tattoos and making them different, you know,
Mhm.
that my style within traditional. But word of mouth, all these guys, you know, that are talking about selling, you know, courses on how to improve your
Dude, I
your
get those
game.
ads
and
all the fucking time and they're
and
just
and when you
yeah.
see comments on there where they're like, you know, the biggest thing is hand out your card, talk to people, be
Mhm.
professional, be approachable, and get that word of mouth out there. And then those guys will be like, no, actually, word of mouth is very outdated, you know, and this
Mhm.
is how you get clients. And like I was saying earlier, like, you can build your social media up and you can get a ton of followers or what have you, but you know, this little circle here in where you're working, you know, the
Mhm.
100-mile radius is where most of your clientele is going to come from.
Mhm.
So you have to be really on top of your game for your locals.
Mhm.
Locals are so much more important than, you know, someone
Mhm.
in freaking Italy or whatever that
Yeah.
that follows you and comments on your work all the time, because they're probably not going to get tattooed by you
Mhm.
realistically. So um, taking care of your people close by is that's how I've stayed busy. I think just maintaining a good track record,
Mhm.
giving people good experiences and very good tattoos on top of it.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah,
Yeah. That's perfect. I
yeah,
love that answer. That's a good
yeah,
answer.
yeah,
You're right 100%. It matters like not just the quality of the tattoo, but the experience that you
yeah,
give them. Because I have some
absolutely.
tattoos on me, and I'm like, I love this tattoo, but that guy was a piece of shit. And so every time I look at it,
Yep,
it's all I think about whether or not I like the tattoo.
I hear that
Yeah.
more often than I want to hear it. That, you know,
Mhm.
someone who's a collector who is seeking out people, you know, they'll tell me, oh man, I had a really terrible experience with this one artist because, you know, they were rude and then they
Mhm.
didn't talk to me. And, you know, I got this great tattoo from a freaking robot with headphones on.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sucks. Like, I try my best to relate to every one of
Mhm.
my clients, like, no matter what. There's always something fun to talk about. And of course, when you're doing some line work, I usually tell people, hey, I'm probably gonna be quiet for the
Yeah.
line work. But after that, we're having a great
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Tattoo flies by. By the
Mm-hmm.
end, they're like, dude, this is sick. I had a great time. Like, I want to come back because I
Yeah.
enjoyed spending time with you. It's like you kind of build a friendship
Mm-hmm.
with every one of your clients. That leads into another thing though, like a spinoff of that. Like, you can be too friendly with some people, or they
Yeah.
can be too friendly with you, and then it causes a weird
You need to
rift.
have boundaries for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that was like the first and biggest thing I learned as an apprentice was like, I mean, when you're an apprentice, you're not putting out the best
Yep.
work, but it was the experience that I gave
Mm-hmm.
these people where they
Mm-hmm.
were like, they were going to people who were way, way better than me in Oklahoma, but they
Yeah.
started coming to me because that person didn't talk to me. I had a
Yeah.
bad
They
experience with
they
that
feel
person.
more
Yeah.
comfortable.
And
Yeah.
so I always try to like, as much as I can, give them a good experience,
Mm-hmm.
talk to them. People love being talked to
Yes.
during a tattoo.
Yeah. It's
It's their
important.
time.
Yeah.
They're paying for this. They want
Yeah.
to have a good interaction and like
Yes.
a good memory attached to that tattoo.
Yes, that's like the most important
Mhm.
thing. That memory with the tattoo is everything. Like, I've got a giant tattoo on me on my thigh where I'm like, why did I do that? Like, I just did it because another tattooer was like, oh, I'll teach you everything. I'll show you how to do this. They took up a huge chunk of my leg
Mhm.
and I hate it. I don't
Mhm.
even like the tattoo. And here I am with it. I never have a good thought about it when I look
Yeah.
at it. I want to get it removed because I'm just like, that was me trying to fit in,
Yeah.
with these other tattooers. But anyways, yeah.
I understand that. Whenever I was going through my first apprenticeship, which like in Oklahoma you have to like be under somebody who has 6 years of experience,
Oh yeah.
1,500 hours, and then you get a permitted license for a
Damn.
year. It's a lot of work. But I wasn't even like legally under this guy, and
Mhm.
I was just hanging out. He was going to give me an apprenticeship
Mhm.
eventually,
Mhm.
and we went to the Dallas Film Arts Convention, and his
Mhm.
client dropped out, and I had not had a tattoo yet. I was fresh
Mhm.
18. I wanted a
Mhm.
specific tattoo. He wanted to put Freddy Krueger big on my thigh.
Yeah.
I stood up. I said, "No, I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
fired me when we got back.
Oh my
And I was
god.
so happy that I didn't do it because I was like, he could
Yeah.
have fired me when we got back anyway. Or
Yep.
like, then
Yep.
I have this stupid tattoo attached to this,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So I
Damn.
totally, totally
Good
get
for
that.
you, because man, pretty much I got junk drawer legs, where it's just every fucking tattoo. I gave a lot of apprentices opportunities on my leg.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I did that because
Hmm.
I feel good about giving them those opportunities at first, but now I look at my leg and I'm like, man, I got 7 apprentice tattoos on my right
Yeah.
leg. I'd much rather have some badass tattoos
Hmm.
from people that I really love, that I want to be able to watch the fucking
Hmm.
tattoo. Now the only spots that I have left are my whole
Yeah.
torso. I'm not going to be able to watch any of that. It's just going to
Yeah.
be pure pain.
I
It's
totally
just going to
understand. I
suck.
have some tattoos that I'm like, I regret giving that person my skin, and they're gonna have to be redone because
It's
I'm
just
like,
the reality of it.
yeah,
You just want to be tattooed so bad at first. And then, there's a lot of tattoos I got when I was younger that I fucking cherish, that I
yeah,
just love so much. There's no way I'm going to remove them.
hmm,
No way I'll tattoo over them, but because they have personal meaning, and they have a
hmm,
great story behind it. And the person who gave me that tattoo is fucking awesome
hmm.
as a person. But yeah.
I think the last question I have for you, which
Hmm.
I've appreciated, this has
Yeah.
been a great
Yeah.
conversation.
Good.
You're freaking
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Is like if there was a young person coming into the tattoo
Hmm.
industry, what would be your biggest advice for them and like how they should get into the tattoo industry, what the steps they should take, and all that?
I think because I just recently taught someone how to tattoo, my
Mm-hmm.
apprentice Jimmy, Jim Bear Tattoos on Instagram. He's fucking awesome. What I had him do initially, you have to paint. I think that's so important, and it's something that I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a total hypocrite. When I started apprenticing, my mentors would tell me to do these projects, and I don't know why I didn't do it, but I didn't paint a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest thing for me watching my apprentice Jimmy go through all this is that he painted so much that he couldn't help but be great as he started,
Mm-hmm.
because he had already worked out all the kinks on paper. And painting is similar to tattooing, where when you screw up, you're fucked,
Yeah.
and that's it. You really can't go back. So number one is, I think you should start with an appreciation for art too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, or art skill, like number one, really,
Mm-hmm.
like, a lot of people come into tattooing and they think it's glorified and it's all this fun, and you become a rock star or whatever, and they have no artistic ability.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have artistic ability, and then you got to practice that shit a lot. And then, during your apprenticeship, you have to observe everything,
Mm-hmm.
don't, um, let anything go by the wayside. You got to just take everything you can get. But before apprenticeship, right? Like building that portfolio is crucial. I mean, I would if I worked at a street shop, or I owned a shop or whatever, and someone walked in and they brought in a portfolio of, let's say, let's go crazy with it, 50 sheets of flash,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all the same style that I tattoo, and they were seeking me out. How could I say no?
Mm-hmm.
Like that shows that you're so fucking dedicated. I know how much time that takes, and I know how hard it is. And even if your art isn't that great, at least you fucking learned some shit
Mm-hmm.
and you tried. So like having a baseline to start with is just huge. It'll
Mm-hmm.
put you so many years ahead. And then maintaining that level of like, I'm going to paint every week, so important. And like, still to this day, I fucking need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just starting to like feel comfortable enough and feel like I have enough time, besides all this other shit I'm doing, to like sit down and paint some shit, or
Mm-hmm.
sit down and draw some new designs and keep up with that. But what else? I don't know. You just gotta.
Have some art background.
I think you should.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think it's probably the hardest thing in the world to become a tattoo artist with zero art skills at all.
You know that like
Um,
made me really mad coming into the industry was like first off I didn't have an iPad and I was
mhm.
told when I got my apprenticeship get an iPad.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
was
funny. It's totally
oh
opposite
yeah.
of like the way I started.
Dude, I was
Yeah,
doing all paper
yeah,
portraits. I was doing
yeah,
11 by 14 graphite
yeah,
portraits. That's it. I had a
yeah.
whole portfolio of those. And then
Hmm.
I got in and they were like, you need an iPad. You need to be doing traditional art, tracing sailor jerrys, whatever. But I still get upset whenever I see people who are just like picking shit offline and just verbatim because they don't know
Yeah,
how to draw.
yeah. I mean, and like, dude, it's so the whole like trace every Sailor Jerry design is so like overplayed,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone tells you that, but there is some truth to that. Through repetition is how you learn these motifs.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that if you're coming into, let's say, traditional tattooing, um, you need to understand these motifs.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come into traditional tattooing and reinvent it right away.
Yeah.
That's a big thing I see with young tattooers. They come in and they put their own spin on it right away. But you're so uninformed of like the building blocks of
Mm-hmm.
tattooing that you end up making art that looks very like naive or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not, it's wonky but in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's not
They're like
quite there yet.
fundamental rules
Yeah,
to
I
it.
think
Yeah.
so. And like when I taught my apprentice, I had like little rules I've made in
Mm-hmm.
my head over the years of things that you don't do. Like one of my big things, Jimmy's gonna laugh when he hears this if he listens. Uh, you do not shade yellow out to skin.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in it. If you're gonna do something yellow, pack that shit solid yellow in traditional
Mm-hmm.
tattooing, of course. But like little tiny rules like that, like you only learn through learning the motifs and the fundamentals, and like how like I can look at a traditional tattoo and I can tell you where I'm going to put yellow, red, and green
Mm-hmm.
and brown instantly. I can tell you. And I
Mm-hmm.
can also tell you where you're going to put black. And it has nothing to do with lighting. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
just want to put black wherever there's a fucking corner, wherever there's a contrast from light to dark. That's where your black goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so there's all these rules that you can't easily learn them if you want to like fast track your success unless you practice it over and over
Mm-hmm.
again on paper. And that's where the whole
Yeah.
tracing shit comes in. But
Painting.
like do more than Sailor Jerry,
Mm-hmm.
please. Like
Bert Grimm. That's a good
research,
one.
and pick out a ton of books
Mm-hmm.
from many different like antique or classic tattooers or whatever. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking like 30s, 40s, 50s. Like you'll notice a lot of traditional tattooers are like their whole career is based off of these classics that they've redrawn, but they
Mm-hmm.
redraw them tastefully, and they're not wonkifying them to the 100th degree where
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't look right. Like they're paying respects to its lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just I feel like going into tattooing where, especially if you have your own style, if you're very established and you know how to draw, you have your own style, that's great. But you still should learn the classics and
Mhm.
everything, because then you can inform your style through that shit.
Mhm.
And, you can build something brand new, that everyone's like, oh shit, I love the way you did that. I never thought of that before. But it's like, based on an old traditional tattoo. And now you've created your own style. But that all comes with a ton of practice, a ton of
Mhm.
repetition, a ton of time. You draw, if you can draw a rose, 100 times before you even go in and get an apprenticeship, I'm pretty sure you're going to figure some shit out,
Yeah.
and for me, the way I learned is I just learned through tattooing. So I
Mhm.
didn't paint a lot, and I just did a ton of tattoos. And so, that's how I figured it out. But I recognize that pattern. If you can
Mhm.
do that, it'll help you a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I just had a guy ask me for an apprenticeship earlier this week. Great client of mine.
Mhm.
He's awesome. And he's gonna have a hard time, I think, initially, because he's has a career established
Mhm.
already, and everything's set up against him right now.
Mhm.
So like people like that who want to get into tattooing, you're gonna have to work 10 times harder,
Yeah.
really. And he's doing it the right way, though, because he's asking the tattooers that he loves and the
Mhm.
tattooers that he respects and has been tattooed by. He's definitely getting an idea of what it's going to be like,
Mhm.
but he's gonna have to start from square one because he has no art skills built up yet.
Yeah.
So I
For
told him
sure.
a lot of shit that I just said right now. Like,
Yeah.
this is what you need to do. You need to be buying these books. You
Mhm.
need to be painting Flash and go on YouTube. They
Mhm.
show you how to spit shade on YouTube now.
Mhm.
Um,
I think it also, like, if you're doing that prior to your apprenticeship, it shows that you're dedicated, because if you're not doing that shit before your apprenticeship, then
yeah,
how are you going to stay dedicated, and why should I put my time into
yeah,
you?
yeah,
Because you have to, I mean, an apprenticeship sometimes
yeah.
can take years.
Oh yeah,
So,
yep. I can't believe that I got an apprenticeship the way I did, at an old
Mhm.
school shop, because I had a couple sheets of Flash, but I had a lot of art in
Mhm.
my portfolio. But I think the reason why I got in was because I even had a portfolio to begin with.
Mhm.
Like my mentor Peter, I think I remember him saying, like, you're either the first one who's ever brought in a portfolio or one of very few. And my work was actually good enough to be like, yeah,
Mhm.
he could do this
Yeah.
with some knowledge and everything. um, but yeah, it'll set you apart
Mhm.
if you can start early, and it shows you're dedicated
Mhm.
for sure. And
Yeah.
then get tattooed. Oh my
Mhm.
god, get so many tattoos by really good tattooers.
That's awesome. Do you
Yeah.
want to say where they can book you, where you're located, and all that?
Yeah, so I'm in Evergreen,
Mhm.
Colorado, here at Black Sage Studio. You can book through Instagram. You can just send us a DM, or preferred way is an email.
Mhm.
That's also in my bio. I make it easy, So my wife does all of my correspondence too. So you're definitely going to get a response quickly.
Mhm.
It's going to be efficient. So
Are
yeah.
you booking out at all, or are you like booking now?
All books are always open. I tend to not close my books because, yeah,
Mhm.
I just want to have that ability to book out
Mhm.
whenever people want. Um, I'm, I think I'm booked out about a month.
Mhm.
So, January has probably got a few openings left right
Mhm.
now. But I stay about a month at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. This was
Thanks,
like a
Ava.
great
Yeah. Thank
conversation.
you so much.
Yeah,
It's so good to
dude.
meet you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Man, I'm so excited about this.
Cool.
Like, yeah.
Well, I
You had
appreciate you.
some great answers.
Good.
So, yeah.
Good.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Tattoo Consciousness. Make sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date. And if you'd like to support the podcast, please make sure to check out my website for original art and prints, as well as sharing to your friends and family. See you next time.